Hi guys, my name is Vivek and in this video tutorial we are going to discuss about joins. As I've done in my previous tutorials, we are going to understand the joins, their importance and what kind of join should be used in which real world scenario with the help of real project examples. So without doing any further delay, let's go ahead and understand joins. The first kind of join that we are going to talk about is inner join, and we are going to understand this with the help of an insurance industry example. For those of you who don't understand the insurance business exactly, an insurance company can sell its product directly through its agents, or it can sell its product through third external companies or external vendors. For example, in India we have policybazaar.com that actually sells policies from different insurance companies. There are banks that actually sell for different that actually sell insurance for different companies. For example, ICICI Prudential is being sold by ICICI, and Axis Bank sells policies for Max Life and that kind of stuff. And then you can have external agents who are registered with these companies and they can sell the policies on their behalf. So we have two tables, employee and transaction. Now in employee we have three records, Vivek, Roger and Maria. Vivek is from IT and Roger is from operations. So they are actually the necessary evil who are not generating any revenue for the company, but you need to maintain them in order to run the company. So it's only Maria who is generating the sales. So in the transaction table we will have entry only corresponding to Maria and not from Vivek and Roger. So this white area in this employee table in the Venn diagram, it contains Vivek and Roger, while this shaded area it contains Maria. And we see certain white area in the transaction table as well. It is for the policies that are being sold by the external agencies, websites or external vendors that are not directly on the payroll of the company. They get commissions on the policies that they sell. So here we have Policy Bazaar and an external agency that has sold the policy. It belongs to this white area, while the direct sales by Maria, it actually falls in this particular area. So guys, understand these two lines very clearly. An inner join, which is also sometimes called as simple join or equi-join or just join, in order to have records in this particular orange area, the column which is being used for the join, here we have the column as employee ID, that particular value should persist in both the tables. And what does that mean in layman term language? Here you won't see one or two, Vivek and Roger, because they don't do any sales. So that particular entry is not present in the transaction table. So the inner join won't consider them. It will consider only Maria, because you see Maria is present in both the tables. It's present in the employee table as well and the transaction table as well. The same goes for these two entries where the employee ID is 10 and 80. They are not in the other table, so we won't consider them as a part of inner join. So only records pertaining to Maria will be shown as an output of the inner join. And we will see the practical implementation of this particular scenario. And let's log into our SQL developer and let's see how it works. So we have our employees table here that contains the details of all the employees that work for the company. This will include employees from the other department as well, which are not doing the sales, but they are part of this table because they are a part of the organization. And then we have the transaction table. This contains details of all the transaction or all the policies that have been sold and the amount or the revenue generated as a part of that sale. So let's just quickly see the count of employees table. It's 107, and the count of transaction table, it's 4 times 9. So that is 9,999. Now I want to see I want to write a query, or the CEO wants to know that what is the number of policies that are being sold by agents working for his organization, and what is the revenue that is being generated by them. For example, he wants to remove 10% of his workforce. So he wants to see the list of all the employees, or maybe he wants to give bonus. I think that will be more apt for to explain this. He wants to give bonus to people who are doing really good. So he wants to see the people who have sold the maximum number of policies and generated the maximum number of revenue. So for that, if I have to write a query, I will join these two tables. I want the employee ID. So I will take the employee ID. I want the count of the policies that are being sold, and I want the sum of amount. Employees, and I will do a inner join with transaction table on. So this is the syntax. This is how you join two. This is how you perform inner join on two tables. Here employees is my driving table, and I'm joining it with transaction table on the column employee ID. And since I'm using aggregate function, I have to use a group by. So here you see that employee ID 138 has sold 94 policies and has generated a lot of revenue. So you can see that kind of stuff. This particular guy 132 has sold 105 policy and possibly has generated the highest revenue, or comparable to 1-to-1. So I can actually see that kind of stuff using inner join. What will not come as a part of inner join? Any employee that has not sold any policy, he will be dropped, or a particular transaction which was sold through a different agency, that transaction will also not account in this particular join. This join requires that the particular employee ID should be present in both the tables, employee and transaction. So the core thing that you need to understand with inner join is the value should be present in both the tables, otherwise you won't see as a part of the output. And if I remove the inner join and just use the word join, as I mentioned that it's synonymous, it will give you the same result. So it gave you the same result. So you can either use inner join or join, it's the same thing. Sometimes it's also referred as simple join or equi-join. So all these things are one and the same thing. Let's move on the second join, which is the left outer join, or sometimes it's also called as the left join. So let's understand what that is. So we are going to understand the example of left join with the product table and the transaction table. So an organization, the insurance organization, is selling three types of products. It's selling life insurance, term insurance, and car insurance. Now they have just introduced car insurance, or for some reason their car insurance is not being sold. So our transaction table, if you see, it has only two products. It has life and term insurance. So it has just these two products, and the code is a little incorrect, but that's fine. The important thing to see here is that the only thing that are being sold is life insurance and term insurance. Now, if I join these two tables on the basis of code, or the product ID, ideally it should be 1, 1 and 2, 2 here, but it's incorrect, that's fine. So if I join these two tables on the product ID or the product code, the record car insurance will be dropped. But I don't want to happen. As a CEO, I want to see the revenue that is being generated by products, and even if a product has not generated any revenue, instead of dropping the row, I want to see it as null. So I want to see all the products that are being sold as a part of my company and the amount of revenue that they have generated. If it has not generated any revenue, I will just specify it as null. So I want the entire product table as it is shown here. I want the entire product table, and I want details of all the transactions that have happened on those particular product. If a transaction has happened for a different product that is not part of the product table, I don't care about that. So if you have to like calculate the value, I will get for life insurance I have $1,000, and for term insurance I'll get 1400, but for car insurance I will get null because nothing has been sold. For car insurance I will get null or 0. So let's go ahead and implement this in our SQL developer. If I use inner join instead of left outer join, this particular car insurance record will be dropped, and I'll show you how in my SQL developer. Let's just quickly swap. So I have my products table here, which has these 4 records. It has life insurance, term insurance, health insurance, and car insurance. That means the insurance company ABC is selling these 4 products, and this is my transaction table. So let's quickly go ahead and write the query, which will be, I want, based on the product code, I want the sum of the revenue that has been generated. My driving table is products because I want all the products, and I want to do a left outer join because even if the car insurance is not sold, I still want a value for that. So I do a left outer join on transaction B on a.product_id is equals to b.product_id. Oh, I have to do a group by as well because I've used an aggregate function. So I got the value, and since no car insurance has been sold or the transaction table does not have any entry for the car insurance, I see a null in front of it, but it was not dropped. And which is I'll show you if I use inner join instead of left outer join what will happen. But before that, you will see another synonym for left outer join as left join. If I use the left join, it's going to give me the same value. It gave me the same result, car as null. But instead of left join, if I use just join or inner join, that particular product row of car was dropped. And if as a CEO I am seeing the records, I will think that we are selling only 3 products and this is the revenue that is being generated, which is ideally not the case. We are selling 4 products. It's just that our 4th product is not being sold. And I mean, right now it doesn't make too much sense because obviously if I'm an insurance company with so few products, I will easily know that car insurance is missing, so there is something wrong with the query or something wrong with the report. But think as an example of an e-commerce company that is selling 50,000 products, and maybe out of 50,000 products 100 products are not being sold. So those products will simply be ignored if you use inner join and not left outer join. So if you want to consider all the records pertaining to a table, and even if they are not present in the other table, you can use left outer join, which is also synonymous as left join. So just let's quickly recap. Our products table had 4 rows. We want the revenue generated corresponding to all these 4 rows from the transaction table. It does not matter if the entry exists in the transaction table or not. So the important thing here to notice or to take away, the important takeaway for left outer join is that no matter what, all the rows from the driving table will be present in our output, or that is expected. All the rows should be present in the output no matter what they are present in the other table or not. So this left outer join is very effective if you want all the rows corresponding to the driving table to be a part of your final output. Now we will go ahead and understand the right outer join and in what cases you should use right outer join. Now we have a situation here where we have the same two tables, the employee table and the transaction table. I, as the CEO of the company, want to understand the net revenue that I have earned. So my transaction table, it contains the details of all the policies that are being sold this year. So I want to get the net revenue generated employee wise. Now if you see, my transaction table has an entry for the employee ID 5 which is not present in my employee table. So if I use the inner join, not only 1 and 2 will be dropped, 5 will also not be there. So inner join is not a good is not the solution for this particular scenario. I'll repeat the scenario. What's my objective? I want the revenue of my company employee wise. If I use the left outer join, alright, I will have 1, 2, 3 and 4 and the revenue that is being generated by them. But again, I will lose the 4 transaction which is being done by the employee 5th, and I will not get this value. And guys, I mean, this may seem impractical to you, that obviously an employee who is not part of the organization yet, how can he do a sale? But it actually happens often, especially in huge organization. So say Vivek, he joined the company today and he started selling the products today itself. So his employee details, it goes into the system through a different route, and say, so it went to the OLTP system, it went to the source system first, then it went to the OLTP system, then ODS. Say there was a failure at the ODS, that is maintaining the employee details or the agent details, and this data was not propagated to the warehouse. So the employee table in the warehouse does not have the detail of the 5th employee, but I'm getting the transactional data or the policy data from a different source, and from there I received this data. So it happens pretty often. So we don't want to drop such records, or we want to give the actual precise picture of the revenue that is being generated. That means I want to consider all the transaction no matter what, it's present in the employee tables or not. So I want the sum of all the data for this this particular table. So let's see how it's going to work. Let's swap to a SQL developer and we will see. So I have my employees table here that I've already shown you. I have my transaction table and I have written the query for the right join or the right outer join. So what I'm doing here is I'm joining on the basis of the employee ID and I'm taking this sum of the amount. Let's see how it looks. So if you see, I have a null column here. That means the employee ID is null and there is a bunch of amount associated with it. What does this mean? It means that there are certain rows in transaction table that has employees which are not present in my employee table, and it's exactly similar to the scenario that I had explained earlier, that there is a possibility that a guy who joined recently did some transaction, sold some policies, but his entry is still not there in the employee table. So we don't want to drop the business done by him or done by such employees, because otherwise if I have to project my revenue, so let's say that there is a quarter end and I have to publish the actual revenue that is being generated by my employees. If I don't consider the right outer join, I will drop this particular amount and it will be a dirty data. It will not reflect the actual revenue earned by me, and I can have audit issues. So in such cases, I'm going to use right outer join to project the correct amount of revenue, or to project the exact number of rows on the right hand side, so that I don't drop any row on the right hand side. So instead of using the right outer join, if I use the left outer join, I will drop this data. I won't have null here. So if you see, that data is dropped. I have bunch of rows that have not sold any policies. So I've retained that, like these guys from 201 to 206. They have not sold any policies. They are still there. If I use inner join, even this will be dropped. I won't see these records from 201 and above. So I don't see any record with null here. So the inner join, let's quickly recap. For inner join, the value should be present in both the tables. For left outer join, the value in employee table, even though if it does not exist in transaction, will be retained, as I just showed from 201 to 206, they will be retained. They were retained. And in right join, any revenue done by employee that does not belong to this employee table, any policies that are being sold by a new employee who was for any reason missed, will be present. So all the records from the transaction table, which is my right table, will be taken into consideration if I use the right outer join, or which is synonymous as right join. So let's understand the final one, which is the full outer join. Let's just quickly swap back to our PPT. So in full outer join, we have these two tables, employee ID and the transaction table. Vivek and Roger have not done any transaction. So we have amount 0 or null corresponding to them in the final output. When we use a full outer join, this is how our final table will look. And we are taking the full outer join on employee ID table. So it will have both the values. It will have inner join, it will have left outer join and the right outer join. So it's a combination of left outer join and right outer join. You can put it that way. So we have Vivek and Roger. They have not done any business, but they are still there. Then we have Maria, which has done business. Her values are there. And then we have this new guy who has done some business, but his actual data is not present in the employee table yet because of an issue with the ODS. His data was not propagated to the warehouse. So we have captured his business as well. It's just that we have registered his employee ID and department ID as null, but we have captured his amount. So if we go back to our SQL developer and see how it will look, let's just quickly go back. So when I ran the same query and I changed left outer join or right outer join with full outer join, now I have all the records corresponding to the inner join. And in left outer join, I had these values, these people who did not do any business. These were coming as a part of left outer join. And this particular amount, it pertains to those values who are not present in the employee table for any reason. They may belong to a different agency, so they are not direct sell, or they are new employees in my organization whose data is still not replicated to the employee table. So we are getting all three values here. These values belong to the inner join. If I wanted to include these 6 values, I had to do a left outer join. And if I wanted this value, I was doing a right outer join, right? So if I want the holistic picture of all the rows, I will use a full outer join. Predominantly, I have seen that inner join and left outer join are used more. but in certain cases we will use a full outer join and a right outer join as well. And there is another thing called Cartesian product. So in that case, you don't have you're joining just two tables and you don't even have any join condition. So you're just joining these employees A and transaction B, but there is no join condition. You are joining. So in that case, you will have a Cartesian product, and that will give you a lot of rows. I mean, there is no condition. So every single row from employee will be multiplied or will have a resultant row for every single row in transaction. Let me explain that to you again. So I have 107 rows in employees, and I have 999 rows in transaction. If I do a Cartesian product like I did here, I will have 107 cross 999 rows. So when we will use Cartesian product, if I don't have a common key between two tables and I have to join them, I can use Cartesian product. Or a lot of time people use Cartesian product when they want to generate test data. So you can just join randomly two tables and you will have a bunch of rows. That's when you use Cartesian product. So let me quickly go back and just explain the slides one more time, so that in case if in future if you just quickly want to brush up what the joins are and in which cases you should use these joins, instead of watching the entire video, you can just quickly go ahead and watch those slides. So we have the inner join. Here we only consider the record that are common in both the tables. So if we are joining on the basis of employee ID, we will consider only Maria, and it's highlighted as this part in the Venn diagram. If we are doing the left outer join, the driving table, which is the product here, we are going to consider all its rows, life, term and car insurance, even though car insurance is not being present in the transaction table. We will still use it. It will have null or zero depending on the way we write our query in our final output. Then we have right outer join. In right outer join, we will have rows corresponding to transaction table. Every single row corresponding to transaction table will be in our output. For example, the employee ID 5 is not present in my employee table. Still, I will have it as a part of output. And why do we use it? In case if you want to paint a picture or like deliver a report based, I want to generate a report for the revenue that is being earned by all my employees, I can use a right outer join. And when do I use a full outer join? A full outer join I want to use if I want to give a complete picture, the employees that have not sold anything, the employees that have sold, what's the revenue that they have generated, and any employee who has sold the policies but they are not present in my employee table, I can go ahead and do a full outer join. So when somebody will see the output, he will understand, okay, there is a possibility that there are certain employees who are doing business for me, but their entry does not persist in the employee table. I will go ahead and ask my ODS team or source system that, you know what, I'm getting certain transactions for certain employees, but I don't have their details in my system. Can you go ahead and send me those details? So these are joins in Oracle or joins in SQL. I'm sure, it may be a little lengthy, but hopefully the next time when you see a scenario, you will quickly know what kind of join you want to implement. Thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. And in case if you have any questions, let me know. What I will do is when I upload this video, I will do a bookmark in the comment, so that in case if you have to quickly brush up your concept, you don't have to watch the entire video. You can watch it for the last couple of minutes and you will know how it works. And if you like my channel, guys, do subscribe, do share, and do leave comments. It actually helps me to create more videos. It gives me that motivation. I think that'll be it for today. Thanks a lot.